It's time for the final match of the losers bracket before we move back to the main bracket semifinals. Last time we watched an absolute thriller as Gym Leader Jasmine of Olivine City took on Gym Leader Price of Mahogany Town. And what a battle it was, as both trainers had amazing synergy and fought to keep the weather on their side. But only one pulled through to make it to the next round. Today we have another great matchup as Elite Four Will takes on Gym Leader Whitney in a battle that is frankly going to be quite difficult to predict. Let's try our best though as we head to the team previews. Will returns with his mono-psychic team with great bulk and some offensive capabilities too, the latter of which he's really going to have to take advantage of in this battle, along with utilizing Bronzong effectively in particular. Whitney on the other hand is going to have to really use her defenses here, along with being careful when she does bring out her offense, as we know Will always has some tricks up his sleeve. Our producers are now telling us that our trainers are raring to go, so let's head down to the stadium for this showdown. And here we go, an Elite Four versus Gym Leader battle. We've got Will of the Indigo Plateau versus Whitney of Goldenrod City. Whitney starting off the battle with her Clefable has always been a good lead throughout the tournament for her so far. And now Bronzong coming out from Will's side of the field. So a very bulky start to this battle, that is for sure. And Clefable going for the Stealth Rock immediately, trying to get those hazards up, knowing Will's team doesn't really deal with those very well. And Will, on the other hand, is going to make his Bronzong use Stealth Rock as well. So both sides of the field actually making sure to get hazards down, perhaps realizing that each team is kind of bulky. So making sure to kind of deter switches is going to be very key, but the Clefable does have Flamethrower. That's going to do a decent amount of damage on that Bronzong. Yes, it does about a quarter, whereas Bronzong has a super effective move of its own, going for the Gyro Ball, perhaps doing a little bit more to the Clefable than the Clefable was able to do to it. Now Bronzong does have Levitate, not the heat-proof ability, so Flamethrower is going to do regular super effective damage, and Clefable going for the Calm Mind here. So Whitney perhaps trying to get her offenses up. Of course, the special defense raise won't help against something like Bronzong, but of course, the special attack raise will be very, very key here as this battle goes on. And now comes the Gyro Ball again, bringing Clefable below half. Now, the Clefable does have the Citrus Berry. There is its recovery, whereas Bronzong does have leftovers, so it's getting a little bit of recovery each turn. But of course, it looks like the Bronzong is faring a little better here. The Calm Mind will perhaps turn this in Whitney's favor. Let's see, here comes another Flamethrower from the Clefable. How much will this do on Bronzong? Oh, going below half here is Bronzong. Bronzong is very, very specially bulky. That's how Will chooses to run his, so not dealing too badly with the Flamethrower given the circumstances. And now the Clefable back below half. So it seems like both trainers here realizing how big of a threat each of these Pokemon are to each other's teams. That's perhaps why they sent them out first. And perhaps just realizing they have to go through a battle of attrition here, but the Bronzong surviving. Another Flamethrower able to go for Gyro Ball, but the Clefable survives too, just barely. And now the leftover is bringing Bronzong almost right back to where Clefable is currently. Now, of course, Clefable does outspeed, going for the Flamethrower. Will choosing not to switch, of course, taking into account those Stealth Rocks that are already on the field. Bronzong is going to go down to the Clefable, but now Will does have a chance to kind of switch up the momentum here, and going for Gardevoir here he is. And now, so Gardevoir does have the Trace ability, which will actually trace Clefable's Magic Guard, which will make it unable to be hit by any sort of thing like status moves or non-damaging moves. So Gardevoir is now a very scary beast, and going for the Calm Mind as well, realizing Whitney would not want to switch out that Clefable and basically get it killed by Stealth Rocks. So we'll have to see what Clefable is going to go for here against the Gardevoir. Moonblast, not a bad choice, but of course Gardevoir did just Calm Mind, so probably won't do that much. Still doing a decent chunk there. The special attack drop coming in on the Gardevoir there. That is not good for Gardevoir at all. That is not good in the slightest, but Gardevoir will be able to respond here now, providing Whitney doesn't switch. And yes, the Moonblast coming out on the Clefable. That will be the end of the Clefable. One of the biggest threats for Will's team, so not a bad job managing that. But now Whitney will have a chance to try and get the momentum back. Gardevoir is quite scary now, a little bit more bulk, and also it won't be able to get hit by status moves. But here comes Chinchino. Oh, one of the few Pokemon that can outspeed Gardevoir here. And this is a problem here, because ideally you'd want to see Will switch into his physical wall, the Slowbro, but something like the Tail Slap, in addition to perhaps a Bullet Seed, because it will have the chance to move again after that, would probably take the Slowbro down. So Will kind of got caught there. He got caught in the bluff, the Chinchino, making a very good switch there. And now the Slowbro comes out a little bit safer now, but Whitney is going to switch out into the Blissey. Oh no, here is one of the big threats for Will's team. The Blissey is going to be very, very difficult to deal with, because of course Will does have a lot of special attackers, as we're seeing here. Slowbro going for the Scald would have been a great choice on any other of Whitney's Pokemon, but the Blissey is going to eat that that up entirely, and it did get the burn. Now, the burn is not an ideal situation, actually, for Will. You'd ideally want to see something like the Toxic on the Blissey, but the burn will just essentially neutralize its leftovers, and that's about it. And here comes the Toxic of its own, the Blissey. Gonna poison the Slowbro here. That is not good for Slowbro, putting it on a timer. More and more damage each turn. Slowbro going for a Psyshock here. Now, that uses Slowbro's special attack stat. Actually, will do physical damage on Blissey, so doing a decent chunk there. Perhaps a little bit better of a method here, but of course, we do know that Blissey does have Soft Boil that will be able to heal itself up pretty well. I don't think the Slowbro has a chance here, especially now that it's poisoned. And yeah, Will is going to switch out, a good choice from him, and the Grumpig is going to come out here. Now, Grumpig, I reckon, on the face of it, wouldn't have much of a better method to deal with Blissey than the Slowbro did. Perhaps something like the Calm Mind, we'll have to see. But the Soft Boil coming in from Blissey, perhaps Whitney predicting that switch there, a good chance to recover some health. And now the Grumpig will get a little bit of leftovers recovery from that Stealth Rock, of course. And the Blissey getting hurt by that burn, but its leftovers is basically neutralizing that. And the Grumpig going for Calm Mind here. So yeah, Will is actually going to try to power this thing up. The one thing he does have to be wary of, though, is that Blissey does have at least one offensive move in Flamethrower, and here comes, yes, the Toxic. The Toxic is going to be key here as well on the Grumpig. Grumpig does not deal with that at all. But now the Grumpig getting a little bit of recovery, and the Toxic is going to start racking up some damage. So Will has to be careful here. The Blissey also getting some recovery. Again, that burn is going to take it back down. And there's that damage on the Grumpig. Blissey getting hurt a little bit too. So we have to see what Will wants to do here. He does have a couple of options. He is going to go for Calm Mind yet again, trying to power up this Grumpig as much as possible, because of course Grumpig does have a decent special attack, but Blissey's special defense is just way too high. He's going to need to power up a lot if he's going to manage this, but he has to keep the Toxic in mind. Now the Blissey actually going for Flamethrower, trying to get a little bit of chip damage on the Grumpig, but the Grumpig dealing with that exceptionally well after those Calm Minds. Grumpig is typically a more physically defensive Pokemon, but now with the Calm Mind, Grumpig honestly is a very defensive beast right now with some offensive capabilities too, so Whitney has to be careful. But Blissey is probably the best option that she can have out here, and the Grumpig going for a Heal Bell. That is a crucial move. What a move by Will, because not only does Grumpig get cured, but also the Slowbro. And now, all of a sudden, perhaps Whitney did not know that the Grumpig had Heal Bell on it, because now the Blissey's stuck out there with a powering up Grumpig and can't do much against it at all. And now the Slowbro, of course, does not have poison on it either. So 2 walls being saved here by that Heal Bell, a crucial move for Grumpig to have. And now Grumpig going for another Calm Mind, trying to continue powering up, realizing perhaps is Will that he's kind of safe out here. The Blissey can't really do a whole lot, so we'll have to see what Whitney wants to do here. Going for the Toxic. Oh, she's going to try and poison it again, even realizing that the Grumpig does have the Heal Bell. A very interesting play. Perhaps she just wants to try and stall this Grumpig out. I don't know how well that will work. We'll have to see once Grumpig does start attacking. But of course, it might want to heal that poison up real quick, because that Blissey is a defensive beast, and it will outstall the Grumpig after all. So Blissey getting hurt by the burn. This is going to be the crucial turn here. What happens here? It'll be interesting to see. Whitney actually deciding to switch out here and going into the Ursaring. Now, if Ursaring gets hit by an attack here, that would be brutal, but perhaps what she did here, yes, the Grumpig going for the Heal Bell. So she kind of baited the Grumpig into realizing it needs to heal from that Toxic again, and making perhaps Will think that, you know, she was going to keep the Blissey out there for a while. But switching in the Ursaring here, if Grumpig had gone for an attacking move, that would have been amazing. Perhaps it wasn't charged up enough against the Blissey, though. So Whitney playing some mind games here, and now going for the Facade. Oh, and the Grumpig goes down! The supercharged Grumpig! Oh, outsmarting Will, just barely there. If he had gone for an attacking move there, that would have been the end of the Ursaring, but Whitney baiting him basically into using that Heal Bell. So now Slowbro will have to come out trying to tank these attacks from the Ursaring. The Ursaring will switch out though, realizing it's kind of outmatched here, and the Blissey will be coming back in. And now, the Stealth Rocks are going to start racking up. This is why these trainers set them down, but Will actually going for the switch here into the Jynx. Now, Jynx is something that you wouldn't imagine would do very well against something like a Blissey. It is a special attacker after all, whereas Blissey's special defense is just monstrous in addition to its HP. So we're going to have to see what Will exactly wants to do here. Going for the lovely Kiss. Oh, he is going to put the Blissey to sleep here. Now, the problem is Blissey does have the natural cure ability, which whenever it switches out, it will instantly heal any status condition that it has. However, of course, that means that Whitney does have to switch in order to activate it. So perhaps Will is planning something here. Let's see what happens. Whitney is going to withdraw right away. Into what, though, is the question. The Miltank. Oh, perhaps predicting the Ice Beam, because Miltank does have the Thick Fat ability, which means that it basically cuts the damage that Ice and Fire type moves do. Let's see how much the Ice Beam does. Yeah, what a good play. What a good switch there from Whitney. But it all depends. If the Miltank can now survive the Psychic, Jynx is a powerful beast, that is for sure. Oh, the Miltank going down. Perhaps getting the least use that it has in this entire tournament. Will doing a great job here of trying to manage Whitney's team as best as he can. And here comes the Tauros on Whitney's side. Now, Tauros, one of the few Pokemon that Whitney does have that will outspeed the Jynx, so this is going to be interesting. Jynx is going to switch out. Perhaps Will, thinking that he does have a way to deal with this, going for the Slowbro now. Perhaps a very, very good switch for him because it is a physical defender. Tauros going for the return now. That is a stab move. Let's see how much it does. Oh, Slowbro absolutely eating that up. That barely did anything. My word, that Slowbro is very physically bulky. Whitney realizing her mistake, switching out in the Ursaring now. Perhaps not wanting to take a Scald on anything else because the Ursaring can't take a burn, of course. It is already poisoned. So the best move there, but the Slowbro actually going for Psyshock here. Perhaps anticipating that Whitney would switch into Blissey, trying to get that physical damage off. It won't be enough to take down the Ursaring. Ursaring will outspeed. Here comes the Facade. That is super powered move. And Slowbro actually survives on 2 HP. Oh man, and now it can take out the Ursaring with a Scald. That was a crucial move there. Oh my god, that survival was absolutely insane. Slowbro surviving on 2 HP. Now, of course, Tauros will be able to come in, but that's just more Stealth Rock damage racking up here. Tauros will be able to outspeed the Slowbro undoubtedly. Will does not want to make a switch here, that is for sure. Tauros going for the return. That will take down the Slowbro. So perhaps Will's last real wall that he has. Now it's basically an offense versus offense battle. And the Xatu coming out on Will's side of the field. We saw this thing pull off some amazing moves last time. We'll have to see what it can do here. The Tauros will outspeed Stone Edge. Oh, the Xatu does avoid it though. And here comes the Psychic. Will that be enough to take the Tauros down? Oh no! The Tauros surviving just barely and can now get off the Stone Edge. That will undoubtedly take down Xatu. Xatu is a quite defensive Pokemon, but perhaps not defensive enough. The Xatu going down, but the Tauros will go down to its own Life Orb there. So that is an interesting situation. Whitney now setting out her Chinchino. She only has 2 Pokemon left. And the Jynx, we know, is a terrifying threat, but it all depends. Can the Chinchino miss here? It does have all lower accuracy moves, but it will outspeed the Jynx here. Let's see what happens. The Chinchino, Rock Blast. Yes, it's gonna hit, and that will be the end of the Jynx. Whitney pulling off the battle 2-0 against Will. Really managing Will's team. Both teams did an exceptional job, but that Blissey perhaps being the deciding factor in that battle. Whitney will be moving on to the next round. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss the next matches. Before we go, I'd like to thank the patrons who are making this tournament possible. If you guys want to help further this series' potential and support it, the link to my Patreon page will be in the description below. That's all for this one. This has been SilphSpectre, and I'll see you guys next time for more True Power.